There is more to life than meets the eye. I've just spoken to my mother who passed away 18 months ago. I know people have got that key within them to become conscious creators and create any life they desire. Why don't all these manifestation teachers manifest winning the lottery? I realize it's not about faking it. It's actually about feeling it till you make it.
Welcome back to another episode of the Kate Hamilton Health Podcast. In today's episode, I sit down with Matt Cooke, and you are in for a treat. This was the most fabulous episode, the most fabulous conversation, and I cannot wait to share it with you. Matt is an international speaker and a manifestation coach, and he is author of the new book, Beyond Wanting, The Art of True Manifestation. With over 700,000 followers across social media, Matt bridges science and spirituality, blending quantum theory, neuroscience, and ancient wisdom to help people transform from the inside out. At the core of his philosophy is one powerful idea. You don't manifest what you want, you manifest who you are being. Matt reminds us that the true miracle of manifestation isn't in getting what you want. It's about becoming the version of yourself that no longer needs to chase it. This is what we talk about in our conversation, and I hope you enjoy it just as much as I did. Matt, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so excited to chat to you about this book because your new book, Beyond Wanting, it was only released last week, was it?
Yes, the 11th of November, 11/11.
11/11. And I've been listening to you, so you've been in my ear for the past week. I have so many questions, so many questions, and probably very basic ones, but I think everyone always appreciates my basic questions.
Well, look, that's my motto too. Keep it simple. So I'm happy to answer any basic questions you've got and dive in as deep as you want to go.
And this is what I love about you, and we were talking about this before we started, is that you have a really great gift at taking complicated concepts and making them easy to understand for everyone.
Yeah.
Tell me, what is your mission?
To help people create their best life. It's that simple.
Yeah.
It really is that simple. I know people have got that key within them to become conscious creators and create any life they desire. And that's my mission, to help millions of people from around the world remember that truth.
Amazing. What's the story behind that?
I was, as people will read in chapter 1, I was in property for about nearly 10 years, real estate. And in September 2018, I was really struggling at the time. I had a really tight chest. I was struggling to breathe. And I was under a lot of corporate stress. I'm sure a lot of people can resonate with that feeling. And desperate for some relief, my wife's grandmother suggested some reflexology. And what I went along because I was desperate for it. And what I thought would be a simple sort of foot massage ended up changing my entire life. As I was sat there on the sort of the chair, if you like, the therapist asked me a question. He didn't know me. I didn't know him. And he just said, "So Matt, tell me who you are." And in that moment, I said, "Well, I'm Matt. I'm 26 years old. I'm the youngest manager in this firm of estate agents." Started to list off my achievements. And he said, "No, I didn't ask you what you do for a living. I asked you who you are." And I didn't know who I was. I remember in that moment realizing that there was someone else behind that shell, this corporate armor, this corporate shell that I was sort of wearing and identifying with. And that immediate realization led me down this path. I was desperate initially to understand the I in all of this and understand that the shell, the ego, the identity as the estate agent wasn't happy. And I needed to try and release the I, whoever the awareness was inside that was stuck. I needed to understand and discover who that was. And that led me on this journey of trying to figure that out and watching various, spiritual podcasts and motivational podcasts. And then as people will read, it led me to an experience in 2019 where I connected with my mum. And that blew me wide open to this world that we're now in. And from that moment, really, it's just triggered this light within me to help people find that same truth, that same awareness that, and we'll talk about this, that, the science that I've now discovered through the art of manifestation and energy We all have that within us. We all have the power to align ourselves to our highest potential and our best lives. And that's what I'm about. That's where it started.
Yeah. And I listened to this story in your book when you connected with your mum. Just to clarify, your mum passed away a few years ago. Isn't that correct?
Yeah. Yeah. She passed away in 2017.
And this experience that you had connecting with her was completely out of the blue.
Yeah. I'm happy to share exactly what happened and how it got me here.
Yeah, please, if that's okay with you.
Of course. So February 2019. So we're talking about 6 months after this reflexology session that I had. And I'm lying in bed. It's a typical sort of Tuesday evening. My wife and I are watching Netflix. And I decided to roll over and go to sleep. And as I did that, my wife carried on watching the show. I was still aware of the world around me. And out of nowhere, a very bizarre feeling started to spread across my entire body, starting at the base of my feet, slowly encompassing my whole body. And it was a really intense vibration. And it got so extreme, I remember sort of saying to myself, it's not painful, so let's at least allow it to continue. And it genuinely felt like I was like almost hovering above the bed, which for me was so out there, being in real estate, not being spiritual at all. I allowed it to continue, and I heard a high-pitched ring in my ears, and then it went silent, and I heard a voice, and the voice, which sounded like it was coming from the opposite end of a sports hall, getting closer and closer, said, "Matt, it's Mom. Can you hear me?" And it blew me away, Kate. There's no other way to describe that moment. It completely blew me wide open. We exchanged a few words, and then my wife, who was still awake, nudged me. I was still awake, by the way. She nudged me and she asked, "Matt, who are you talking to?" And as I turned to tell my wife, Coruscant, and then turned back, my mum had gone. And that there was this massive realization that there is more to life than meets the eye. I've just spoken to my mother, who passed away 18 months ago. So my initial want, Kate, was to try and reconnect with her. I didn't even understand manifestation at this point. I didn't even know that existed. If someone had said to me then, "Oh, by the way, you can have anything you want, all you've got to do is think it," I would have laughed them out of the room. There is no way I would have believed that coming from that corporate background. But connecting with my mom was exactly what I needed, because it then sent me down this path of initially trying to figure out where she is, how I can connect with her again. And then that led me down this path of energy, which we can talk about, which is when I then found manifestation.
Yeah, no, it's an absolutely fascinating story. And I can completely understand why this would be totally life-changing for you as well, like on top of the experience that you've had at this reflexology session as well. In relation to, I feel like we're going to dive straight into this, and
sure.
I think people bear with us, okay? If this sounds a little woo-woo initially, Matt is going to talk to us about the science of this as well, and we will bring this towards goal setting and manifestation as well. But in relation to when you connected with your mother here, you describe it in the book very much as tuning into a frequency, like a radio station. Could you talk to us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you imagine, Kate, when you're about to tune into any radio station, yeah, you initially, there's like a crackling, isn't there? There's like a white noise, and then all of a sudden, when you land on that station, it's clear, crisp, you're on it. But initially, before you're on it, or if you decide to go off it, it's crackly. And that's exactly what was happening to me when my body was vibrating. It was literally that. It was tuning in. And the reason I know that, as I mentioned in the book, is because I've got many medium friends who've now told me, "Matt, the reason we're called mediums is because we help people connect in the middle." So what I did unconsciously, but I now know how I did it, because remember, I didn't try or want for this to happen. It just happened. That vibration lifted my frequency, and my mum lowered hers. And that would have taken a lot for her to have done that. And then we met on this frequency. Now, when those frequencies aligned, I picked up her signal, her information. She picked up mine, and that's how we're able to connect. And the reason I know that, and we can talk about this, is scientifically everything is energy, Kate. And energy is never still. It's always in a state of movement. And that movement vibrates, right? And there's different movements and different vibrations, and that vibration is known as frequency. And we all know there's different frequencies. You can be on one Zoom call with one person, yet there's millions of other Zoom calls happening around the world. And that's because you're on one specific movement of energy, which is frequency. And all frequency carries information. So if you align to the exact vibrational frequency of something, you're going to pick up the information. So that is how it happened with my mum. Now, for years, Kate, I didn't know how it happened. Now I do. The 6 months before of the reflexology session, which was my initial awakening, if you like, the initial sort of questioning of who I was, and the sort of like trying to figure this out, watching some motivational content, some spiritual teachers, was actually unconsciously raising my vibration and my frequency. And it was easier for my mum to connect. The reason she hasn't connected with my brothers is because my brothers aren't in this world, you know? So that is exactly what I mean in that book. That is how it works. And then we can dive into this in terms of what manifestation is. But when I started to discover the concepts of manifestation, for me, it was a no-brainer because I understood it from the context that I've just explained to you, that it's tuning in, just like tuning into a radio.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. And, you know, it's so mind-blowing and quite difficult to understand for most of us that I think we'll kind of direct this a little bit towards manifestation as well in relation to energy. So like when you're talking about, you know, that you were vibrating at a higher energy and that made it easier to be able to connect, that energy, like we all have that potential inside us, don't we? This is the I that you were talking about, that and this is actually the first time I came into contact with this concept was when I read The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. I don't know how to pronounce it. Tolle. Oh, life-changing book. I started reading it years ago and I had to stop because I wasn't ready for it. I was like, no, it's freaking me out. It's freaking me out. I had to stop. But I went back and I read it and it really is life-changing. And that concept of the I that we talk about, you know, I feel this way, or it was my first time to really think that there's a difference between the ego, who you show up as in the world, and the real you. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that? Because you're going to do it a lot better than me.
I think that's really powerful. And before we even get into manifestation, the way I explain scientifically how it works and what it is, we need to start with that I. So we're all aware of this voice in our head that's often sometimes quite negative and self-critical. If we're aware of the voice in our head, who's the one listening, right? And I always do at any talk I do around the world, I always do a very simple exercise, and I'd love people to do this now when we're together. Maybe not if they're driving, but they can at least think it through. I always say to people, and Kate, do the same with me now. If you just close your eyes and just inside your head, not out loud, just say the word hello 5 times inside your head. And once you've done that, I want you to do it again inside your head, but this time I want you to shout the word hello 5 times in your head. And Kate, you can open your eyes. And anyone else listening, what did you experience? Did you hear the word hello? Did you see the word hello? What did you experience there?
I could hear like an echoing of my own voice in my head.
Great. So who heard it?
Me.
And who's me?
Kate.
Kate was the name you were given when you were born, though.
Yeah.
See what I mean? So sorry, I do this with everyone. The truth is, me, what is me? Well, me is the awareness. Me is the one that was aware of the echo of hello. So the awareness has a different name. You could call it awareness, you could call it the I, you could call it the witness, the watcher, the consciousness, the universe. You could call it anything, but I call it the observer.
It's the same concept of a soul as well then, is it?
Soul, yeah. It's not the program. It's not the voice in the head. There is separation between those two things.
Can I just stop you there to ask a question? Okay, so when we're born, we are pure consciousness. We're pure awareness. We are just this energy. we're that, like, you know, we look at our, like, you know, we both have kids, you know, when you have a small baby and their arms are just and legs are just like kicking all over the place. They don't know who they are. They don't realize their hand belongs to them. They don't respond to a name. That's pure consciousness, isn't it? And what we do is we can condition ourselves. Now, you can correct me if I'm wrong. We condition ourselves through society, our parents, our teachers, everyone. We build this persona that this Kate. I become Kate because someone gave me that name, and I learn as I get older what's appropriate, how it's appropriate to behave, how Kate should be, what Kate should do, what Kate likes, what she doesn't like, and it builds a person. And the more ego that we build, the further away we get from our true selves. Am I correct?
Absolutely, yeah. You've created a model and an identity called Kate, haven't you? That's been built from her conditioning and her upbringing. Actually, though, as a baby, that was an interesting point, because they haven't really got an identity, have they, at that point? Because they're building that. So actually, the reason that's such a great point is my son's now 1, and as soon as he was born, for the first few weeks I was staring into his eyes, and I could see his soul stuck in a baby's body. Yeah. So the baby's body is moving around like an animal, because we are animals, aren't we? You know, and it's moving around. It's like following scents and whatever else. It's like trying its hardest to wiggle around and move, and it can't. And it's stuck, you know. So the awareness of Humphrey was there, but of course the soul is built within this body. So of course then the body sort of develops and learns, and then what happens is you've built this model called Kate, or this model called Matt, that has an identity and a personality and beliefs through upbringing. But what happens with most people, Kate, is that the soul is sort of pushed to one side, and they don't realize that there's the awareness. They think they are this paradigm and this program, you know, but we're not. There's always two separate parts. I think another way of looking at it, you know, the simulation hypothesis is a big thing in the world right now, that maybe we're living in like a video game. Let's just put that to one side, but let's just take one context from it, which is, if you imagine playing a video game, you have an avatar, don't you? Like if you've played The Sims or Grand Theft Auto or anything, you've got this like little avatar. And this little avatar, this little figure, it has a personality. It has a house. It has, but then who's playing it? And the person playing it is the player. I mean, I try and see it like that. The person playing the avatar is the soul, and then the avatar is like the personality. You know, so that's how we can try and see it, in a sense, that it's two separate things, but a lot of the time we forget.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
And the avatar sometimes runs away with itself a little bit, doesn't it? Like, I find, you know, like my background is in education. So like when we were in college, and we learned a lot about, you know, early childhood education, and how those formative, you know, those first 8 years were like sponges we take in. That's when most of us have actually built our identity by the age of 8, which is really, really scary. It's funny because now I'll be 40 next year. So as I'm getting older, I'm kind of learning, and as I read more on this topic, I'm like, I started as a child, innocent. As you get older, you build this ego to survive in the world and to find your way. And I find now I'm starting to come back around to and connecting back with 8-year-old Kate in a really weird way. It's like, you know, the ego that you build up in your teenage years and your 20s, as you're, you know, trying to fit in, you're trying to qualify, you're trying to climb the ladder, and then suddenly you get to about 40, and well, everyone's age different, and it's just like, I just don't give a fuck anymore. I just want to be me again. I just want to be me again.
Yeah.
And I feel like now I'm on that journey, and it's so incredibly empowering.
And that awareness, that sort of 8-year-old Kate, is only really seeking one thing, and that's expansion and freedom, liberation, adventure, travel, like happiness, joy, peace. The opposite of what it seeks is contraction. So a lot of the time, you know, like me when I was back in real estate, you know, the awareness in me felt stuck, felt contracted, and it's always seeking freedom and liberation. But yeah, you're right. You know, for the first 7-8 years on average, a child's only in their subconscious. So, you know, they're a sponge to their external world. They're being downloaded. But the great thing is with neuroscience, neuroplasticity, is we can rewire that part of ourselves at any age. They used to think that the brain was primarily fixed by like 21. But now at any age, it doesn't matter what your ego is and what your belief system is. that can be changed. And I think this is a really important segue to go into, because by the age of 35, neuroscience now tells us that 95% of who we are is subconsciously programmed. So everyone listening to this, maybe there's some people listening that don't understand what the word manifestation truly means, which is the deliberate act of bringing something that you desire into the physical world using thoughts, feelings, and actions. But people can have a conscious desire for something, such as a relationship, more money, healing, a house, whatever that desire is, but it's actually only coming from 5% conscious awareness. The biggest manifestor, okay, is someone's subconscious, because it's the dominant influence of their life.
Ladies, here is the brutal truth. If you've been trying to lose weight for months or even years and you're still not where you want to be, it's not because you're lazy or broken. It's because you've been following plans that were never designed for real life. My coaching program, Nourish Her, fixes that. No fad diets, no confusion, no guilt. Just a clear, personalised plan that actually works. Even if you've failed everything before, you'll lose weight, you'll feel proud in your clothes again, and finally build a routine that sticks. And it costs less than your morning coffee. If you're tired of wasting time, money, and willpower on things that don't work, go to the link in the show notes right now. Do it now, because nothing changes until you do. And the problem with our subconscious minds, until we, like, I know, and we'll talk about how we can work on this, but isn't the problem with our subconscious minds is the fears, the limiting beliefs, the things that we've programmed, or that, you know, have been programmed in us that we aren't even aware of, that's blocking us, that we need to start challenging and working through.
Yes, absolutely. And I think, actually, interestingly, you know, I think if everyone thinks now of a conscious desire that they have, I think they should just ask themselves, do I believe it? Do I believe that this desire can happen to someone like me? And this is the time to be honest, because if you don't, then it's showing you what you've got to work on straight away. Yeah. And my publisher, Penguin Random House, asked me to pitch an article to the New York Times. And I said, dream smaller to manifest faster. Because in the world we live in, we're all told to dream really big. And actually, as people will read in Beyond Wanting, the further out your desire, the objective, the bigger the want, the bigger the lack, and the bigger the separation. And actually, how I've manifested everything up until now is by getting clear on the bigger desire and simply reverse engineering it down to smaller manifestations that I'm still not controlling, but feel closer, that feel more believable. And even if they highlight what I've got to work on, great, I can work on that. So for me, manifestation is a sequential process. It doesn't have to be like, I'm here now and this is my big vision, because people can feel stuck. They can feel like they're not making progress if they live in that separation.
There's so much I want to unpack with this. Okay, so first of all, like with the manifesting, you know, bringing something into your life that you want, whether it is like a baby, more money, your dream house, change of career, like whatever it is that you're like, freedom of any sort, whatever it is. I definitely believe that we should dream big, but like what you said, like it's not fixating on the big dream, because it creates that gap, doesn't it? Like that, oh, I don't have this. I don't, like, it's just something that you want, which is literally the title of your book, Beyond Wanting. So the wanting actually blocks us, because it's like, it's something outside of us, when actually it's what's inside us that is most important. And I kind of manifested by accident. Like I had started reading personal development. I moved from a career in teaching into becoming a personal trainer, took a little step back in income, you know, worked my way up in a new industry. But I did it all just by following my gut feeling. I just got to a stage where I was like, I'm done trying so hard. I'm done trying to be who I think I should be, who I think other people should think I should be. And I just kind of let go, and I was like, what do I want? And then I was like, and what do I not want? I was like, I don't want to teach anymore. What do I want? I want to be in the gym all the time. I want to, you know, and I just kind of, and I made really crazy decisions. And people, I think, like, especially my parents, I think thought I was having like an early midlife crisis or something. But it's literally how I have managed to manifest anything is by just being like, this feels right. I'm going to do this. Doesn't really make sense right now, but I'm going to do it. I'll figure it out as I go along. And the next step will unfold after that. I don't have to have it all figured out.
Right. Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. That makes a lot of sense to me. Look, we all want things in life. Wanting is an obvious place to start. But what does the word want mean? Want means, if we look in the dictionary, lack. Want means we haven't got. Now, the reason that's really important is because we need to understand how manifestation actually works. And then the title of my book makes more sense. So what I say is we want once, and then we have. And what I mean by that is we just keep practicing the energy of having. So I mentioned earlier that everything's energy. That's a scientific fact. If you break down anything to its purest form, this microphone, the table, the human body, we go all the way down to these atoms, which are the building blocks of all things physical. We go down one more time. We get to the subatomic level, which are these tiny, tiny particles called electrons. Stick with me. And then we say, okay, if we break down the electron again, now we're at the very base of reality. Where do they come from? And if you break down the subatomic level, they disappear. They merge back with where they're from. And where they're from, if you were to break down an electron, they're from unifying fields of energy, quantum fields of infinite energy. Now, if something's infinite, then it means anything there is possible and anything exists. So the question is then, okay, if everything physical derives from this field of energy, and it's important to know that that field of energy is also known as a wave, and all things physical in our material world are known as the particle. So we're living in a particle-based reality, but we're from an energetic field, a wave of energy. How does it turn from energy to the particle? How does it turn from energy to matter? Well, if we study quantum mechanics, there's a famous experiment called the double slit experiment. It's also known as the collapse of the wave function. And this field of energy, which is also known as the wave, turns from being energy to matter through one thing. And it's the most powerful word that exists. We've already spoken about it. And that word is observation. When a scientist is observing this field, the wave of energy collapses into the electron. The moment they take their observation away and move somewhere else, this electron disappears, merges back with the field, and wherever that observation is moved to, the energy instantaneously collapses back into that particle. And this is done through cameras as well. Wherever observation is dictates when that energy collapses into matter. That is manifestation.
So it's like focus. Sorry to interrupt, but like kind of like, if you think of it like a camera, like focus.
Focus.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Attention, observation.
Yeah.
But Kate, good trail of thought. Where is most people's attention?
In what they don't have.
Exactly. What they lack, what their negative voices in their head, what people have said about them, what they believe to be true about themselves. So then what would that mean? That would then surely mean that do those people continue to experience more of those things in their life? Well, we tend to see it, don't we? We tend to see people say, I just keep running into the same problems. I keep meeting the same people. And it's because they're unconsciously manifesting. They're unconsciously collapsing that wave. The moment someone's attention is taken off what they don't have, off what they believe to be true about themselves, off that negative voice in their head, and they focus on possibility, they focus on a feeling, they focus on visualizing what they seek as if it's already done, what starts to happen? Well, it's science that this field starts to collapse and people start to experience synchronicity. They start to experience really strange things that tend to sort of pop out of nowhere, conversations, pages in a book, angel numbers, like things just happen and their life starts to move. It's not a genie in a bottle. Manifestation is not, I'm going to think positive thoughts and all of a sudden like things are going to happen. It can feel like that sometimes, but it is a sequential process of observation. Wherever your attention and observation is dictates what collapses. Now, The reason that's important is if someone looks into a physical mirror, okay, in the physical world, and they're staring into that mirror with a sad face, what will the mirror show? The mirror will clearly, obviously show a sad face. We know if we seek a happy face in a physical mirror, well, we need to smile first. If we smile, the mirror will smile back. But so many people unconsciously are frowning and waiting for the external world to change to smile.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that. Like we have to, this is the paradox. We have to move beyond wanting. We have to embody the state of what we seek. We have to start smiling before the evidence. And then when we smile, the physical world reflects a smile. Yeah?
It's all in the feeling, isn't it?
It's all, yeah, I mean, it's absolutely, it's in a state of being, which is thinking, feeling, and behaving like the version of you that you seek. Now, on feeling, when I learned this, I was like, yeah, okay, but how can I act like someone who's got money when I'm actually broke? You know, I quit real estate, taken out a loan, like I was in debt. I was understanding this work and struggling with the concept of like faking it till I made it. And I realized it's not about faking it. It's actually about feeling it till you make it. Because I couldn't fake having no debt. I couldn't fake having loads of money. But what I could do is feel abundant. And I could feel free. And the reason I could do that is two things. Firstly, I learned that if I meditate and I slow down my brain, when I slow down my brain and I get out of the analytical part of my brain, there's a part of your brain when you're in alpha and theta brainwaves where it cannot discern the difference between truth or a dream. So if I start visualizing being abundant, my body will actually feel it because it doesn't know the difference. Just like any nightmare we've ever had, the body believes in the nightmare. And also I could go and put myself in the emotional landscape of my future. I could go and say to myself, how would it feel when I've got money? How would it feel when I'm out of debt? Okay, it'd feel these emotions. Okay, now what activities can I go and do that make me feel equal to that future? So you're right. It is all about feeling. Feel it till you make it.
And the problem is, for most of us, it's our busy minds, isn't it? It's our thoughts. It's the racing thoughts that are constant, that detach us from being able to dig into that feeling, that even we're like, oh yeah, I'm abundant, or whatever, or I'm healthy. And it's like, your mind is like, yeah, sure you are. You know, and so I'm going to ask you now is like, you know, to give people some, and I know all of this will be in the book as well, but, you know, some practical tips to start being able to slow down that mind. Like for me, what I would say, like how I do that is like, I can't just lie down on the floor or sit down and just meditate. I'm too busy. I'm always rushing around. So for me, like walking, you know, going out walking in nature is hugely helpful, or else doing a bit of yoga, and then I can, you know, lie down into Shavasana and then do a meditation, or like going to the gym, lifting weights. If you're lifting heavy weights, you can't concentrate on anything else. So it clears the mind. Those would be my 3 go-to things. And that's what I help my clients, to help them de-stress, to be able to focus on, you know, like working on themselves and be able to focus on themselves. But in relation to manifestation, we're probably talking about a whole different level of connecting with self. What would you suggest? Where do we start?
Well, I think they're great strategies that you've already said there, and I think everyone's got to find their own one because everyone's different. What you've experienced, what you've explained there is what's called kinetic sort of meditation or kinetic visualization, where because you've got racing thoughts, what you do is sort of complement movement with it. So sort of you create this sort of resonance between the racing thought and movement, and it actually stabilizes you, which is interesting.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it rocks me to sleep like a baby, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, absolutely. It creates sort of coherence, which is balance. Otherwise, if you just stop, but you've got a really active, busy brain, it's sort of a bit haphazard, isn't it? So I like running and walking as well, and being in nature. There are some other great strategies too. I mean, firstly, just try and meditate through guidance. If you're new to meditation, I wouldn't recommend necessarily just sitting in silence because, you know, it's not going to be as easy as, let's say, following one of my guided meditations where I actually use like the science of hypnotherapy to slow your brain down through like a body scan. And if all you need to do, for example, if you listen to me, is just go into that meditation with one intention to follow Matt, follow his guidance.
Yeah.
Now, if you follow my guidance and I'm telling you to imagine a gold light coming over your head and then down your body, it's actually slowing down your brain without you realizing, firstly. Secondly, I love what's called binaural beats. Now, binaural beats is great because what it does is it takes two different beats, okay? So you've got, let's say, for example, 100 hertz going in through your left ear and 104 hertz going in through your right ear. So you've got a missing beat of 4 hertz there because you've got 100 and 104. And as they're coming in through the left and right hemispheres of the brain and they reach the middle, what the brain will automatically try and do is balance out the missing beat. So what it does is it entrains the brain to the 4 hertz because it's the missing beat. And the 4 hertz is the same brainwave pattern as theta. So without you even needing to do anything, your brain will automatically slow itself down to theta, which is a really great way of also slowing down your brain. So what you could do is you could simply sit in meditation, go onto YouTube, type in theta binaural beats, put an eye mask on, put your headphones in, set a timer maybe for 20 minutes and just sit and just allow your brain to slow down. And really the purpose of what we're doing is getting beyond the analytical brain, because the rational left brain, analytical brain, is the one that questions and says it's not going to be possible for someone like me, and it stops us from feeling and believing. Another great way that I love is simply journaling as well. I don't think there's anything more powerful than pen, paper, and a stream of consciousness where you just say, I'm just going to write. I am just writing and I'm just going to get anything out. And initially actually offload what your analytical brain's saying. And then once you've done that, you start sort of like channeling. It comes from somewhere else and you'll have some pretty good breakthroughs through that. And then the other technique that I love, which isn't that great this time of year, it's actually snowing as we speak here in Cornwall, is grounding. And that's because the ground is rich in negatively charged sort of like ions, where the ground is the same vibration as theta brainwaves. It's called the Schumann resonance. So sort of alpha brainwaves. So all you need to do there is place bare feet on earth, and actually the ground is vibrating at the same frequency, and it will slow down your brain.
It's funny, like, the way grounding has become this trendy thing in recent years. And I remember talking to someone about, I was like, what is grounding? I think it was one of the early episodes of the podcast, and he explained it to me. And I was like, oh, I do that anyway. I didn't know there was a name for it.
Yeah, right.
And it's funny, a lot of us do that naturally. Yeah. Like, I don't know whether it's like that in Cornwall. It probably is because you're by the sea as well. But I'm east coast of Ireland and I live in a seaside town. And, well, any of the seaside towns in Ireland, sea swimming is a really big thing. Irish people are a bit crazy. They like to swim all year round in the sea, the cold water therapy. But I suppose that is, like, as well as probably other elements, it is a form of grounding as well, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think being in nature of the extreme. I think being in nature, especially cold water, is a way to like freeze that part of your brain, isn't it? So here's what I say, like, people, the danger, honestly, is trying to copy what other people are doing. Yeah. I think because honestly, everyone's different. And the reason I've got to where I am is I am naturally someone that experiments. I don't ever follow a crowd. I never have. I like to look at who does well in an industry and see what they do. And then I always tweak it. I always break it apart. I've always been like that. And so I'll know all the tools, but not all the tools work for me. Like you'll hear me say many times, I struggled as a kid playing with toys because I didn't really have a great imagination. I remember my brother playing with a toy car like he was lost in another world. And I, to have fun, needed to break the toy apart. So when it comes to meditation for me, I tend to have a harder time seeing, visualizing. I tend to see more darkness.
Me too.
Whereas my wife, oh my God, like she is like, she'll meditate and she's crying and she's in like this other world because she's more like an artist, my wife, like she's very artistic. So you've got to find your own tool. So for me, some of my best ways to manifest are actually through speaking and through writing and daydreaming as well, like allowing my mind with my eyes open to wonder. That's another absolute, because the concept of daydreaming, Kate, just so we understand, day means beta brainwaves, means the outside world. Dream means alpha. So whenever we're daydreaming, we're going from beta to alpha, daydream, daydream, daydream. So when you daydream, if you're at the gym or if you're doing whatever, you're actually also meditating and visualizing. It's equally as powerful.
Yeah. And do you know what I've discovered about myself as well that I think that gets in my own way? And I know a lot of people probably relate to this as well, is I'm a real organizer. I like to schedule things. I like to organize it. I like to, I'm like, I want to do this. And, so I'm going to journal at this time. I'm going to meditate at this time. I'm going to do my yoga here. I'm going to get out for my nature walk, and I'm going to, touch as many different things and smell. And, and I get over the top. I oversubscribe myself with stuff and I overschedule it and it ruins it. So what I've done recently, and it's so effective, is I've just simplified everything and I'm just getting back into the feeling. I'm like, I don't feel like doing yoga this evening. I feel like I've got stuff I need to write out, and I'll get my journal out and I'll write. And then sometimes I'll be like, I feel like I need to just watch Netflix and switch off tonight. And I'll do that. And I'm learning to trust what I need instead of, because I'm a real push to reach goals, push. And I'm in my era of just letting go a little bit and stop trying so hard. And it's amazing. I feel so much better for it. And it's actually so much more effective.
Well, that's because of one thing, Kate, and that's because what you're doing there, there's two parts of the brain. There's the left brain and the right brain. The left brain is the analytical, rational organizer that has to sort of do. And the right brain is the intuitive, feeling brain. And the right brain receives information. It tends to be like that gut feel, like that sort of knowing. And the left brain tends to like analyze information. And it's so interesting because if we just trusted the right brain more, we'd always be right. I don't know if you've heard of the telepathy tapes, these autistic children. It's fascinating. These autistic children are able to do many things that are truly extraordinary, such as read their mother's minds, see with an eye mask on, see between walls. They know information that they shouldn't know. And it's because a lot of these children have a damaged left brain. And because of that, there is no way for them to necessarily analyze the information in the same way. So they just take the information and it's right. They just know their mother's mind. And it's sort of what intuition is. It's the same thing, because we're in constant guidance from this intelligence, from this field of intelligence, all-knowing information field. It's a balance of analyzing and also just knowing. And one of the segue here quickly, if people may relate to this, I don't know if it's over in Ireland, but it's called Traitors. And it's a big TV
Oh yeah, my husband's been watching this, yeah. And I think there's an Irish version of it that was on a few months ago. I didn't watch it, but he did.
Okay, so, there's like 2 or 3 traitors who are like the murderers, and then there's like 12 or 15, however many sort of faithfuls. And the idea is obviously they try and figure out who the traitors are, who's killing them off. And what's truly interesting with the faithfuls is when they try and analyze, they're often always wrong. They're often like, when they debate, I think it's this person, they're wrong. But when you listen to them go, I've got a gut feeling that it's that person. So interesting when you listen to them saying, like, when they have a gut feel, they're right, but they don't listen to the gut. They follow the crowd. They analyze what other people are saying. And it's the same sort of thing with manifestation. Like, there's a time and a place to analyze, but there's a time and a place to realize that maybe I should just trust, because actually, is it my intelligence that is keeping my heart beating right now? Is it my intelligence that's keeping Earth in orbit? No, it's not. It's an intelligence that's far, far, far greater than my conscious intelligence. So maybe I should just trust and stop analyzing.
If you love this podcast and you have always wanted a clear step-by-step plan to follow, I have just launched something for you. For €4.99 a month, you can join my new Patreon membership, and get exclusive episodes that give you the entire Nourish Her coaching framework. It's the full curriculum that my clients use, just without the support and community. If you want a low-cost way to start your journey properly, then just click the link in the show notes. Yeah. And it's funny because obviously, and I have a name for this, that I had kind of talked through these two sides of me with my coach. But like, it is basically left and right side of brain. So I call it the knot and the cloud. So the knot is my super like organised, go, Kate, goal setting, hitting goals, organising everything so things happen. And then the cloud is my gut, my, when that want for freedom that I have, when I lean into it, like things just feel so much easier. And it's funny, for a long time when we've talked about this, myself and my coach, I have felt that I should be a hell of a lot more cloud. And I always thought the not part of me was bad. And he was like, no, like the not part of you is actually like, look at everything you've achieved in life, that it plays its part, but you just need to stop. You don't need to keep trying so hard with the not side of you. You need to just let more cloud in, but the not still does its bit. I just thought it was a really nice way to view it.
It's a good way of looking at it. I like that. Yeah. And I think if everyone reads The Surrender Experiment by Mickey Singer, which is one of my favorite books, it's a true story of how a hippie in the woods in the 1970s decided to listen to his right side of his brain, and allow intuition and the universe to call the shots. And he went from being a hippie to building $1 billion business just by sort of not necessarily following what his ego is telling him he should do,
Yeah.
So it's quite fascinating if we can learn to trust it even more and not be afraid of it. Because I think we try and analyze and try and figure out whether it fits sort of like what we know to be true in our life. But I always say that, reality is over 99.9% unknown. That's a fact. Invisible fields of energy. What's known in our life represents less than 0.01%. So, what would you rather trust? But we tend to only trust what we know.
Yeah. That's always from the past. So we can't actually know. Yeah. We can't know what's ahead. We try, and our brain tries to protect us and keep us safe, and be like, oh, maybe don't do that. This could happen. You might not have enough money to pay for this, and and all these scary things, or you might fail. But like when we bring it down to it, like that's literally what success is failing and getting up, and just trying again until you figure it out.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And knowing exactly what you've just said, that its primary purpose is to just try and keep you safe.
Yeah.
Because it can only survive on the landscape of what it knows.
Yeah. In relation to gratitude, I struggle with this. Okay. So I struggle, I love to set goals. I love having something to strive for. But I also find it hard to balance the gratitude. I can find it hard to be grateful for what I have and strive for what I'm going towards as well. That can be a hard balance, can't it?
Yeah. So most people, when they do their gratitude statements, let's think about what gratitude is first. Gratitude is because we have something. Gratitude is a state of having, receiving. Most people are only grateful for what they already have, right? Which is obvious. And it's like where we all start. But if I've just explained to you the observer effect of it, if I've explained to you the mirror analogy, we can't wait for what we want to then be grateful. We've got to be grateful for it ahead of the event. Now, that's pretty difficult to do if what you're manifesting is too far out, because you're actually going to struggle to even feel and connect with that gratitude statement. Whereas if you break it all the way down sequentially to what you think could be the next step, and then you're in gratitude for it, it's unbelievable what happens. Unbelievable. And I do this to this day. I write down 5 things I'm grateful for. I always write down a couple of things that are already in my life. But the 3 things are often different avenues, different manifestations of things that I'm working on that aren't yet in my life. And I'm sort of roughly figuring out what I think it could look like, and then saying I'm so grateful and blessed now that this has happened because, and then I explain the reason why. And it's, to me, it's my, as people will read, it's my secret weapon.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable.
So set the vision, reverse engineer, break it into, just look at your next mini goal, and be grateful that it is, visualize it as already happened. Be the person who it's already happened to, and be grateful for it.
Yeah, I tend to write it down. So let me give you an example. Let's imagine that before this podcast, a desire was, I really hope this podcast goes well, and that it's a smooth conversation, and I don't embarrass myself. Let's just say, I'm just using it as an example.
Yeah.
Well, I would write down first, I'm so grateful and blessed that my podcast with Kate was a huge success because we were able to share powerful teachings around the subject of manifestation and help a lot of people. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So what I'm trying to do is I'm looking in my life and I'm trying to think what feels outstanding, what would I like? And then I'm closing the gap by saying I'm grateful ahead of the event. And I did that through the whole process of my book. Like, there's a process. There's getting the publishing deal, then signing the deal, and then writing the book, and then actually going through the editor and being signed off. And even you said you're listening to it, you're not guaranteed to even get the narration for your own book. You have to audition for it, right? So when I knew we were at that phase where they were starting to think about that because the book was signed off, every single day, Kate, I'd say I'm so grateful and blessed now that Penguin have automatically given me the rights to the narration, because authentically I know people will resonate with my voice and my stories. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'd say that every single day until the editor of Audible reached out and said, Matt, I've looked at your profile. I don't think this makes any sense to audition this. Are you comfortable doing it yourself? And I was like, sure.
Amazing.
Absolutely, of course, So that's what I mean, though. So I wasn't like saying thank you once I was given it. I'm saying thank you before.
So it's kind of like when you step into new rooms, new doors are open for you that bring you next level. Like if we take your career, for example, stepping into Penguin, and you already have rehearsed what this is going to feel like. You're ready for it. Like you're great. You're already grateful for it, rather than walking into a room not feeling good enough and perhaps letting yourself down
and
a little bit.
Waiting that it all works out. Yeah.
And then you don't even enjoy it because you're so anxious, you're sweaty, and you're like, oh, heart palpitations and the whole lot. Whereas you're like, I'm ready for this and I'm so grateful and it's time.
Yeah, exactly. I think also, though, if we can segue slightly on this to help people, having more of a broader focus of how it can happen, you'll win so much faster, because there's this sort of, for years, this contradiction that I had, which was, all right, well, if we're manifesting from this unified field that's infinite, why could I not win the lottery? Like, why doesn't Dr. Joe Dispenza manifest winning the lottery? Why don't all these manifestation teachers manifest winning the lottery? Let's just say, right? Why do they have to sell courses and what? Why? Well, and it took me a while to figure it out. And this is probably round 2, Kate, for me to go really deep on the science behind how I've discovered this. But to simplify it, it's this. I want you to take for a moment the national lottery here in the UK. And let's just imagine some simple maths. So let's imagine 35 million people buy a ticket, and they all buy one ticket. Yeah? And the prize is 10 million. Well, some simple odds on that then, Kate, dictates that if you and I are part of that, we all have about a 35 million to 1 chance of winning. Now, amongst those people, Kate, we've got the likes of you and I that understand manifestation. We understand what we can do. We understand that intention, which is a vision, can modify the odds and modify the probability of us winning. So we're in that. But we've also got a few million people that don't understand manifestation, but have always said, one day I know I'm going to win the lottery. So even though they're not aware of manifestation, they hold that belief. You've also got people who are just playing randomly, like maybe they've just automatically bought a ticket, and you've got people that are broke, desperate, have got no other hope. They don't believe they're going to win, but there's a part of them that think they might, and they just play. Well, you see it when people that win, you often see them in interviews going, I always knew I'd win one day. But what you never account for are the millions of people that are still saying to this day that one day they'll win, but they haven't yet. Yeah? So because we're playing against 35 million other conscious beings, we can't reduce the odds from 35 million to 1. Like we can't just do that. It happens, of course, to people, but we live in a rule set, a physical rule set, where it has to be fair game. And your intention can modify the probability of it happening. So what do I mean? There's a guy called Dean Radin, a scientist. There's many experiments that he's done on intention. Your intention can modify odds. So you and I, Kate, we could actually absolutely steer the odds down from 35 million to 1, maybe to 3 million to 1. If we're really, really good, maybe we could even steer it down to 300,000 to 1. But are we going to steer it 1 to 1? Probably not. Let's be honest, because every week we'd just win the lottery. It's got to fit. It's got to fit a rule set. So when you have a fixed attitude towards your manifestation, especially when you're up against other people, you've got to just accept that it has to fit and it has to work with other people that have also got free will. Now, when it comes to manifesting healing, for example, or abundance, or love in general, that's massively so much easier, and I'll explain why. If someone's looking to manifest from a health condition, there's so many variables of where they could go with their health. They could go downhill really quickly. They could live with that illness for years and decades, or they could naturally heal, or they could do one meditation and heal. The key thing is they're not playing against 35 million other people. They're playing against themselves, right? So they might have the influence of family and doctors, but they're playing against themselves. There's no other free will involved. So because of that, it's so much easier for the universe to help co-create with you, because it's not also like there's no one else in a sense getting in the way. So the uncertainty around it is wide open, and that's why people heal at Joe Dispenza's retreats after a meditation. That's why people heal when they get given a sugar pill that's a placebo and they think it's the real thing. They heal very quickly. So when you open yourself up to possibility, when you open yourself up to abundance from anywhere, from miracles from anywhere, it's so much easier for the universe to do that. But if you say, I'm only going to have this one opportunity with this one company and this one person, you're narrowing yourself right down, because you're also up against free will, other people's free will as well. So for me, I've always said that of the manifestations I find harder are the ones where I'm too attached. Yeah. I'm not allowing, I've written it in the book. I was so obsessed and attached with a house, and we were rejected on it. But when I opened myself up to redirection, the universe brought this one to me, which is in the same village, literally a mile down the road. It's even better. But it only came to me the moment I opened up. I was so narrow focused on one. And that's the same. I see that with people looking to manifest a specific person. Look, let's be honest. We can't override someone's free will, can we? This other person has to also, from their own, want that relationship.
But that's forcing anyway. It's not manifestation, isn't it? If we're forcing it,
but people, but trust me, there are a lot of teachers out there that say you can manifest specific people or specific things. And yeah, of course, there's absolutely
that's just marketing, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but people fall for it, And I always say to people, just it's not about. And this is the thing, right? It's actually not about anything. Even if I say to someone, and I've not argued, but I've tried to convince people to see the bigger picture. I'll say, okay, this one person that you'd love to manifest, it's not about them. And they're like, what do you mean? What do you mean? I'm like, it's not about them. It's not. You are attracted to a version of yourself that exists in your imagination when you're with that person.
Yeah.
Aren't you? Because they make you feel a certain way in your mind, don't they?
It's all back to feeling.
All back to feeling. So
it's the same with money it's the same with money or career or health, or it's that energy. It's the energy you want to put out in the world. It's the energy you want to receive.
It's how you're attracted to that version of you that has all those things that you see.
Yeah.
So the real trick here is, okay, well, why don't I actually just start being like them and allow things to open? And every single time someone's done that, they've always manifested someone that's far greater than they ever imagined in the first place.
One point I want to kind of make on what you were saying there as well about, the lotto or the specific job or the specific person where you're pitting yourself against other people. It becomes competition. It becomes comparison. It's that blocks manifestation, because it's the authenticity, isn't it? It's stepping into future you, stepping into real you, who you really are, and not following the crowd. It's literally going your own path and just stop following the crowd, stop trying to compete for everyone else, and feel into what feels right for you. What do you really want? You, not what you think other people want you to have. Absolutely.
100%. Authenticity is so powerful, Kate.
Yeah.
It's one of the fastest vibrations that exists in terms of emotions. It's faster than love. You know, just I think the problem with all of this, if I'm honest, is trying to figure it out egoically. Set the intent, understand what it is that you're seeking, and allow yourself to be blown away by the intelligence of the universe. That's the real trick here, Kate, if I'm absolutely honest. You know, if we set the intention to help as many people for the greatest good of all concerned in everything we do, is the trick here. The trick there, if it's wrapped around love and intent in that respect, the universe has to help. This intelligence, this larger consciousness system, this universal field of energy has to help. It has to help for its own evolution. And that is the trick in all of this. When we try and lead from ego, from what I want for myself to impress other people, I'm not saying you can't have it, but it's harder.
Yeah.
Whenever we seek something to help other people, you'll be blown away. You will absolutely be blown away. So if you're seeking a sum of money, think to yourself, what can this money do? Not just for myself, but everyone concerned. And hold that vision in your mind. And so many incredible things will happen.
Mic drop. That was amazing. Matt, thank you so much. I would love to do a part 2 with you when you are in Dublin, if that suits you. We could dive into the science of manifestation. You can give me the science lesson. I'll be ready. I'll concentrate. So that that we can go into more of that energy, because I do find it fascinating, and I think it really helps people distinguish the fact that this isn't just magic. This, there is science behind this, and I want to talk to you about numbers and signs as well. So we might do that next time, if that's okay.
Let's do it. I'm game. Whenever you want, let's get it in the diary for round 2.
Let's get it in the diary for round 2. Definitely coming. Everybody, you can pick up Matt's book, Beyond Wanting. You can get it Amazon, anywhere you get books, really. Yeah.
Yeah, anywhere. Pretty much, yeah. Just Google Beyond Wanting and you'll see it. So
yeah, perfect. And your best place for people to reach you if they want to find out more about other things you do as well?
Yeah, just Matt Cooke Coach on Instagram. I'm all over, but if you just type Matt Cooke, you'll find me on Instagram. And from there, you'll see everywhere else that I can help.
Amazing. Matt, thank you so much for your time today.
You're welcome. I've really enjoyed it. Thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you so much for listening to the podcast. And if you haven't already, do go back and listen to some of our previous episodes. Stay tuned for future episodes. So the best thing to do here is to make sure that you are subscribed to the podcast. It also makes such a difference to me if you do. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. And if there's any episodes at all that you particularly enjoy, please do share it with your friends, share it in your WhatsApp groups, share it on your stories. Please do tag me. I always love to hear it. Follow us on social media. You'll find me at Kate Hamilton Health on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. And if you really do enjoy my approach, we also have an exclusive Patreon subscription, which is €4.99 per month for exclusive Kate Hamilton Health episodes. You will get exclusive access to my step-by-step coaching curriculum that only my clients have access to. You won't have the community or support of coaching, but you will have a structured framework to start on your health journey. Until next time, thank you for listening.